I'm not sure if this video is an appropriate format, but I probably waited a little too long to get it started. So here we go. I have chosen today to speak about something near and dear to my own heart, which is Jeeps, old Jeeps in particular. We'll go back to 1946, which was during the World Wars, and the military was looking for an all-purpose vehicle in order to send over for the troops. Two separate companies made submissions for the Jeep contract, Willys and also Ford. The Ford vehicle that was initially sent over was called the Bantam, and the Willys ended up winning the contract, and they started out supplying vehicles to the military. So originally all of the Jeeps made by Willys were for military use. You've probably seen pictures of old Willys Jeeps. They're almost always olive drab green. They've got the flat fenders. They're really small. One of the things that the military said was that they had to run a low compression ratio so they could run on really poor fuel that was found throughout the world. So Jeeps will run on almost anything combustible, which is really nice. They also had to be relatively simple as far as the electrical system and the mechanical system, so that they were indeed field repairable. Jeep also fulfilled that request. Over the years, the Jeep transitioned into other models and slightly more capable versions. The last was called the M38A1, and it is known more commonly as the CJ5. And the CJ designation is actually stands for civilian Jeep. And what they did is, after the war completed, they found that, you know, the farmers and stuff could attach track hoes and plows and all sorts of things to the Jeeps. So they ended up being a really useful vehicle. I personally have a CJ5, and so I'm going to take the rest of this speech and talk about a little bit about the CJ5, which is my favorite of the Jeep vehicles. So the CJ5 was manufactured from 1955 until 1976, which by today's standards is an extremely long production run. The Jeep CJ5 was phased out in favor of the CJ7, which had a larger door opening and a slightly longer wheelbase because of some safety concerns at high speed, highway speed maneuvers. It could become relatively unstable. The CJ5 came in a couple of different powertrain configurations. It had the standard 4-cylinder motor, and then in the late 60s, a couple dealerships started installing an optional V6 model. That V6 was called the Dauntless 225, which talked about its cubic inches was the 225. It was a huge improvement for the CJ5 because it doubled the horsepower and it also doubled the torque available, making the vehicle much more drivable at modern speeds on the highways. What else about the CJ5? So the CJ5 came with a couple different transmission options. It came with a 3-speed called the T14, and it came also with a rarer 4-speed, two different 4-speeds, the T98 and the T18. T18 transmission CJ5s are extremely rare. The T98 was more common, but not quite as strong. My particular CJ5 is a hobby vehicle of mine. It started out as a 225 V6 Dauntless CJ5 with a T14 3-speed transmission. I've had it for 15 years and have done numerous upgrades to it over the years. I like to take it down to Moab. So down in Moab, you run into all sorts of little hill climbs and stuff, and a carbureted motor ends up not being really good on inclines and declines. So initially I converted it to a fuel injection, an aftermarket fuel injection by Holley. It was designed for a V8 motor, and I could never quite get it to run how I wanted. So I pulled the V6 motor and I put a 5.3 liter V8 out of a Chevy Avalanche into it. I also upgraded the transmission to an SM420, which is a granny low 4-speed transmission, considered to be bulletproof. And I am currently enjoying the Jeep with its modern powertrain, its fuel injection, and its old-fashioned looks. I hope that there were some good facts about Jeeps in here, and CJ's, and my Jeep in particular. So thanks everybody.